Don't think he don't know. You pay those lawyers to know. Those lawyers know what he's going to beat, and those lawyers know what he ain't going to beat.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
The headlines have been explosive lately, and one name keeps popping up. Cuba Gooding Jr. You won't believe what he's caught up in now. After Diddy's shocking arrest, everything changed in the blink of an eye. Accomplices scattered like roaches when the lights come on, and the whole situation has spiraled into chaos. But the most jaw-dropping twist, Cuba Gooding Jr. is now deeply involved in the scandal, and it's looking messier by the day.
Cuba Gooding Jr. settles a lawsuit by a woman who accused him of a decade ago. Trial was about to start with jury selection in New York federal court.
You see, when Diddy was taken into custody, the aftermath was like something out of a movie. It wasn't just a matter of him going quietly. Nope, his whole entourage, everyone who was ever in his orbit, seemed to panic. And one of those people, according to the latest rumors, was Cuba Gooding Jr. As soon as the cuffs were slapped on Diddy, Cuba reportedly went into full-blown crisis mode. He's been lying low, possibly even on the run, consulting with his lawyers around the clock, and word on the street is that he's already working out a deal with the FBI. That's right, it looks like he's about to turn on Diddy. It's wild to think about, but apparently, Cuba is so desperate to clear his own name that he's willing to rat out Diddy and all their shared accomplices.
Quite a few years ago now, probably 10 or 11 years ago.
The Butler.
Yeah, and it was a great film, and I loved the interview, and you were with Oprah and all these others that were...
So, how did Cuba Gooding Jr. end up in this mess? Well, let's not forget that Cuba isn't exactly a stranger to controversy. He's had his fair share of legal battles over the years, and some of those cases are seriously sketchy. His connections to Diddy's infamous parties are starting to resurface, and it's not looking good for him. For those who aren't familiar, Diddy's parties were legendary, but for all the wrong reasons. Some of the things that went down at those gatherings have only recently come to light, and they paint a disturbing picture. And now, there's growing evidence that Cuba was involved in some of the worst of it.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap.
Let's take a closer look at Cuba's history. His legal troubles began long before this current scandal with Diddy. He's been in and out of the courtroom facing various accusations that have tarnished his image. He's tried to maintain his innocence, of course, but the details of some of his cases raise serious questions. Remember the groping allegations from a few years back? Multiple women came forward, accusing Cuba of inappropriate behavior in public spaces. These incidents reportedly happened in crowded bars where Cuba's behavior was described as aggressive and disrespectful. He's been accused of crossing lines, and despite his denials, the cases just kept piling up.
McGuire Star reached a settlement with a woman who sued him for $6 million on the accusation that he raped her a decade ago. The decision came.
But here's where things get even juicier. Cuba's connections to Diddy's parties weren't just casual hangouts. Rumor has it, he was a regular fixture at these events, and he saw, and possibly even participated in, some pretty wild stuff. Now, as more details emerge about what actually happened at these gatherings, Cuba's presence there is raising eyebrows. It seems like every day, new information comes out about what went down behind closed doors, and Cuba's name keeps popping up.
I mean, that's crazy. That's the craziest thing I'd ever... And then, hey, how about me? I wake up in the morning, I turn on Today Show, and Hector, Cuba Gooding Jr. I was like, excuse me!
It's no wonder that Cuba is now scrambling to distance himself from Diddy and everything that's come out about these parties. In interviews, he's tried to laugh off his involvement, claiming he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's even tried to suggest that his presence at Diddy's events was purely coincidental and that he didn't know what was happening around him. But let's be real, no one's buying it. Especially not now, with so much damning evidence starting to surface. Cuba has always been known for being a smooth talker, but even his charm can't save him from this mess.
I'm not here to shame anybody or to take any of these women who've, made their statements.
In fact, there are whispers that Cuba is working behind the scenes to cut a deal. Word is, he's been in touch with his legal team, trying to figure out how to save himself from going down with the ship. And here's the kicker. Some sources are saying that he's ready to snitch. That's right. Cuba might actually be willing to testify against Diddy and their other associates to save his own skin. It's not uncommon in cases like this for people to turn on each other, especially when the stakes are this high, and it sounds like Cuba is doing everything in his power to avoid getting caught up in the inevitable fallout.
That the raid and all of that stuff, only time will tell. Who was involved, who had been a frequent guest in these places and areas.
The rumors are swirling, and they're getting wilder by the day. Some insiders claim that Cuba is already in talks with the FBI, offering up information about Diddy and others who were involved in these infamous parties. Apparently, he's hoping that by cooperating with the authorities, he can cut a deal and avoid the worst possible consequences. But here's the thing, even if Cuba manages to strike a deal, it's unlikely that he'll walk away from this completely unscathed. His reputation has taken a massive hit, and his connections to Diddy's crimes are too deep to be ignored.
It wasn't that my behavior was focused towards women. I was carefree in front of groups and crowds of people.
What's even more shocking is how far Cuba is reportedly willing to go to save himself. Some say he's ready to expose everything, not just about Diddy, but about all the people who attended these events and what really happened behind those closed doors. He's apparently prepared to hand over evidence, point fingers, and throw just about everyone under the bus if it means keeping himself out of prison. It's hard to imagine Cuba going from an A-list actor to a government informant, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and it seems like Cuba is in full-on survival mode.
I've had clients describe MDC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
Meanwhile, Diddy is dealing with a whole lot of problems of his own. His arrest has thrown his entire empire into disarray. Lawsuits are piling up faster than ever, and the most recent one is nothing short of staggering. Diddy is facing a lawsuit demanding $100 million in damages, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are other cases too, including allegations of misconduct that span years, maybe even decades. It's clear that Diddy's golden era is over, and there's no coming back from this. What's especially interesting is how Diddy has managed to keep himself above the law for so long. For years, he's been one of the most powerful figures in the music industry, and he's used that power to shield himself from serious consequences. But now, with all these allegations coming to light, it looks like his luck has finally run out. His influence is fading, his legal troubles are mounting, and his once loyal circle of friends and associates is quickly turning against him. The bigger question now is whether Diddy's arrest marks the beginning of the end for his career, and maybe even his freedom. If Cuba and others really are willing to testify against him, it's going to be nearly impossible for Diddy to wiggle out of this one. He's facing serious charges, and the weight of the evidence against him is overwhelming. Even his most loyal fans and supporters are starting to question whether they ever really knew who Diddy was.
I think industry talk, there's a lot of people who, who have worked for him. There's been stories around, which is, not necessarily unusual.
As for Cuba, his future is just as uncertain. If he's truly ready to snitch on Diddy, it's only a matter of time before the whole house of cards comes crashing down. But even if he cooperates with the authorities, there's no guarantee that he'll escape unscathed. His reputation is in shambles, and the public isn't likely to forget his involvement in this scandal anytime soon. The world is watching, and it's clear that the fallout from Diddy's arrest is far from over. The drama is only just beginning, and as more details emerge, it's anyone's guess how this will all play out. What we do know is that Cuba Gooding Jr. and Diddy are both in very deep water, and it looks like they're both fighting to stay afloat. One thing's for sure, this scandal is far from over, and it's only going to get messier from here. Now, let's get into the real heart of this story, Diddy's infamous parties. If you thought the drama with Cuba Gooding Jr. was intense, buckle up, because the deeper you dive into what was really happening at Diddy's events, the more shocking it gets. These weren't just your average Hollywood parties filled with music and dancing. No, these were secretive, over-the-top gatherings where almost anything could and did happen. The kind of parties where rules didn't exist, and celebrities where rules didn't exist, and celebrities who were in the know kept their lips sealed, until now.
Is there any possibility that he walks away clean from this, that everything is dropped and he faces no charges or any prison time?
Not impossible. I mean, anything is possible, but I don't see that happening. I see him kind of going the path of R. Kelly, where again, for so many decades, he was able to act with impunity and just, with harming so many, young women.
Over the years, whispers about Diddy's wild side were common. People in the industry talked, but they did it behind closed doors, knowing full well that getting on Diddy's bad side could be career-ending. For years, he seemed untouchable, floating above any real scrutiny. But as details about what actually happened at these gatherings come to light, it's clear that this was more than just harmless fun. These parties were reportedly elaborate, with some people saying they were like underground carnivals for the rich and famous, but with a much darker side. It wasn't just the celebrities either. Apparently, high-profile athletes, business executives, and other influential figures were regulars at these events, all drawn to the exclusive, no-holds-barred atmosphere Diddy cultivated.
I mean, to me, this sounds like a very toxic work environment. What is your take on that?
Toxic, but this is illegal behavior. You cannot put this is battery. It's criminal battery.
Some even say it was a known fact in Hollywood that if you got an invite to one of Diddy's parties, you were either someone who had already been vetted or someone about to be initiated into his inner circle. And this wasn't just about mingling with the rich and famous. Diddy had reportedly perfected the art of keeping everyone entertained in ways most people couldn't even imagine. But what exactly made these parties so notorious? Well, insiders say it was a combination of wild antics and total secrecy. People who attended were often required to sign strict non-disclosure agreements. And let's just say those NDAs were taken very seriously. Breaking the code of silence wasn't an option for most, whether because of fear of being blacklisted or worse, the fear of being blacklisted or worse, the fear of personal repercussions.
So why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Some even speculate that Diddy used these gatherings as a way to gain leverage over people in his circle, and that's where the real intrigue begins. According to some reports, there were hidden cameras strategically placed around Diddy's homes. This meant that everything that happened at his events was allegedly captured on video. Celebrities and other high-profile attendees could be seen doing things they wouldn't want anyone else to know about, and Diddy supposedly kept these tapes as a way to maintain control. If anyone ever thought about crossing him, all he had to do was remind them of the footage.
And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those 2 raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these performances that have been named freak-offs.
While this sounds like something straight out of a conspiracy thriller, there are enough rumors and anonymous sources to keep these claims circulating. One former associate of Diddy's claimed that the atmosphere at these parties was anything but friendly. He described them as chaotic, with attendees encouraged to let go of their inhibitions and indulge in their most outrageous desires.
They have people want to make up stuff, but they got people who was there that was witness and speaking about it.
The parties would go on for hours, sometimes days, and people were flown in from all over to be part of the action. It's even been said that some of the biggest names in Hollywood have attended these events, but few are willing to talk about it publicly. The fear of retribution and the weight of potential secrets being exposed is too heavy for most. But despite the heavy curtain of silence surrounding Diddy's world, not everyone has stayed quiet. Over the past few months, more and more people have started coming forward with stories about what really went on. The details paint a picture of someone who used his power and influence to manipulate those around him. The parties weren't just for entertainment. They were allegedly a stage for Diddy to maintain control over his empire. He carefully cultivated a dangerous mix of loyalty and fear among his closest associates, and many people stayed in line simply because they knew the consequences of stepping out of it.
A lot of it depends on Diddy's situation, the individual facts.
Let's not forget that Diddy didn't get to the top without making a few enemies along the way. Some insiders claim that his rise to fame wasn't as organic as he'd like people to believe. Over the years, rumors have circulated about the questionable methods he allegedly used to climb to the top of the music industry. Some say Diddy had a way of knowing how to play the game, both with the law and with those who worked for him. There have been whispers that he cut secret deals to cover up potential scandals and that his ability to avoid real trouble has made him seem invincible. It's even been rumored that Diddy might have struck deals with law enforcement to protect his own interests. According to some sources, he has a history of working with insiders who helped him stay one step ahead of any investigations. There have even been suggestions that Diddy could have acted as an informant at one point, providing information in exchange for a free pass when things started getting too hot around him. Whether this is true or not, one thing's for sure, Diddy's ability to dodge major consequences for so long has left a lot of people wondering just how deep his connections really go. But those days might be coming to an end. With Diddy's arrest and the flood of allegations against him, it looks like his luck has finally run out.
Stacey Schneider. And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a...
Lawsuits are piling up, each one more shocking than the last. The latest, a lawsuit demanding $100 million, which is enough to make even the wealthiest among us take notice. The lawsuit, along with several others, is just another nail in the coffin for Diddy's career. It's becoming clearer by the day that his empire is crumbling, and the people who were once loyal to him are now turning their backs, desperate to escape before the full weight of the law comes crashing down. Diddy's days of evading justice might finally be over, but he's not going down alone. And this is where things get even more interesting. Cuba Gooding Jr. isn't the only one who's reportedly trying to save himself by cooperating with investigators. Rumors are swirling that several other big names are also considering coming forward. These people, many of whom were once considered part of Diddy's trusted circle, are now scrambling to protect themselves. No one wants to be the last one standing when the hammer falls, and the pressure to come clean is mounting.
I understand how cold it must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
The prison has about 1,200 detainees and is the only federal prison in the nation's largest city. The DOJ shut down New York City's other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, back in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide there.
The biggest question now is, who else will get caught in this web of secrets? With so many people involved in Diddy's parties, it's only a matter of time before more names are dragged into the spotlight. And if the rumors are true, the list of people who could be implicated is a long one. High-profile executives, athletes, and even more celebrities could soon find themselves in the middle of this storm. As Diddy's empire collapses, the fallout is likely to spread far and wide, touching everyone who was ever connected to his dark world. The truth is, Diddy's influence went far beyond the music industry. He had connections in all kinds of powerful places, and those connections are now at risk. As more people come forward with their stories, it's becoming clear that this scandal isn't just about Diddy. It's about the entire network of people who enabled him to operate the way he did for so long. From business deals to backroom negotiations, Diddy's reach was extensive, and now that it's all coming out, the people who once protected him are running for cover. So what happens next? Well, as Diddy prepares to face what could be the biggest legal battle of his life, the rest of Hollywood is watching closely. This scandal has the potential to take down more than just Diddy. It could expose a whole system of corruption, lies, and manipulation that's been festering beneath the surface for years. The truth is, Diddy's downfall could be just the beginning. As more secrets are uncovered, we might see an entire industry shaken to its core.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was f***ed up.
The story is far from over, and the next few months will be crucial in determining how this all plays out. Will more celebrities step forward to distance themselves from Diddy's crumbling empire? Or will the truth about what happened at those infamous parties finally be revealed in court? One thing's for sure, the drama is only just beginning, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But what do you think? Will Diddy's fall from grace lead to even more shocking revelations about Hollywood's elite? Or will his powerful connections somehow pull him out of this mess once again? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more updates on this developing story.